Hi, my name is Letitia, and today I am here to do a reading for you for Offset, who is the husband of the dynamic Miss Cardi B, and he is also a phenomenal rapper, a part of the group Migos, and I love him. I love his music, I love his work, I love the story of his success. And of course, we can see the story of his success in his birth chart and his numerology chart. So on the screen, you'll see I have put together his chart along with the main numbers in his numerology chart. So his birth name is Kiari Kendrell Cephas. So we use that name that is on the birth certificate to calculate the expression number in numerology. So each letter that is in the birth name vibrates to a number between 1 and 9. So those numbers are calculated and then they are reduced to a single digit that gives the expression number, which represents how you speak, how you write, just how you communicate as a whole. So for Offset Kiari, his expression number is the number 3. So within the number 3, you have this brilliant ability to speak. Okay, so he was born with that energy, which came from the energy within his name. So he has an ability for quickness of thought. He's able to receive words very quickly. The number 3 is associated with the energy of Gemini. So within that Gemini energy, you have the air sign. So with the air signs, there is always this ability to think very quickly, on your feet, come up with witty ideas very quickly. There is this great sociability with the number 3 that likes to go out, meet new people, host new people. And that always helps when you are talking about a career that is in the public, that is one where you need to be networking. The number 3 definitely helps with that energy. Gives you an outward ability, a quickness, like I said, of thought. So he's a rapper, so he has this quickness with his words to be able to come up with rhymes very quickly. The number 3, that energy of the number 3 helps with that. And then he has the personality number, the number 5. So we calculate that by adding together the 1 and the 4, which are in his actual date of birth. So 1 plus 4 equals 5. So the energy of the 5 is similar to the 3, in that it is very sociable, but the number 5 is a leadership number. It is a number of independence. So not only does he have the 3 working for him, which wants, the group sociability, the group interaction. So there he is working together well with his family, Migos, to be able to put together this rap group and use their energy combined with that. I need to look up the rest of everybody else's charts so I can see how this energy is intermingling together, working together, the synastry of it. But this number 5 here, it gives him a great independence. It gives him, again, major creativity, but a brilliance of the mind, an ability to see something one time and learn it and memorize it. That comes with the energy of the number 5. But the number 5 always likes to be moving. It always likes to be having new experiences, traveling, seeing new places, talking to new folks. It's challenging for the number 5 to stay in one place. So he is in the best career with this number 5 because he has the dynamic task of traveling all the time, on the airplane, going here and there and yonder. So he has that, and the number 5 absolutely supports that. Not only does it support that, the number 5 is drawn to that. So there is a horrible restlessness that comes up with the number 5 if it has to just stay in the same place all the time. and do all the same things all the time, just this regimented routine, it cannot work for the number 5. So the profession that he is in as a rapper and an entertainer on the stage, this is perfect for the 3 and the 5. And then the life path number is the number that we grow into over time as we get older and older. So he has that independent number of the number 5, but he also has the number 1. So the way that we come up with the life path number is we calculate the entire date of birth, and then we reduce it to a single digit number. So all of the numbers will be reduced between the numbers 1 and 9, down to the numbers between 1 and 9. And this is Pythagorean numerology, which includes the number 9 in it, in the name. So the Chaldean numerology does not include the number 9 in the name number. That's something to keep in mind. But Pythagorean numerology does. So with this, we add 12. We add 1 plus 2, which is 12. 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 4 plus 1 plus 9 plus 9 plus 1. And we get the number, the whole number, and then it reduces down to the number 1. So for Offset, his life path is that of a leader, is that of one who is initiating and who is moving forward and is taking the charge with his own life. And then he has people who will follow him. So even now, he will be 28 this year. 2019, he will be 28 this year, and he is already moving out in accordance with his life path, which oftentimes people struggle with that. It depends on who it is that is training you and getting your mind, programming your mind when you are younger. Because if your mind is programmed that you are not a leader, then you will do the opposite of the energy that you came here to do. Oftentimes it'll be harder for you to move forward with your life path, and you could operate in the negative vibration of it. So for each of the numbers and each of the signs in astrology, there is a light and a shadow energy. So for the number 1, and oftentimes I see women struggle to own that life path number 1 energy, because society oftentimes causes a woman to think that she should be subservient and submissive, and she should not lead out. So it is more challenging for the life path number 1 in a female body to be able to bring this energy forward in its most powerful and positive aspects. So in the shadow side of the life path number 1, they can struggle with being dependent upon people, never being able to stand on their own 2 feet, never able to man up, as it were, and own their own life, own their own shit, own their mistakes, make amends, and push their life forward. As the energy is there with the life path number 1, the other thing that they can struggle with is drug addictions, to escape from having to own their own life and stand in their own strength. So that is something that the life path ones can be challenged with. But if they do own their power, they are meant to be these fantastic and dynamic leaders, like we see Offset doing with his life. The other thing that is with the number 5, I heard somebody say on one of the reports that he had 5 children and all the different baby mamas. So the number 5 is 1, and the 3 too. They get bored, so they like to move out and like to experience all different types of life. They like to experience different partners, because again, they get bored. They need to have these different experiences. So if you find that you are with a personality number 5 or life path 5, if you see that your partner has 5 in any of these major areas within her numerology chart, to mitigate that cheating, you want to make sure that you and your partner are traveling, that you are experiencing new things, not just sitting in the house doing the same thing over and over again, because that is going to lead that person to want to go out and have experiences without you, because you may be stubborn and maybe a number 4 type energy who just wants to do the same thing every day, all day, and doesn't want to change. So that's something to consider. So when we look at the astrology chart, we will find similarities within here that are within the numerology chart. So one of the things that we will look at is Mercury, because we are talking about someone who is a dynamic speaker. Now, we don't have an exact birth time for Offset, but he was born in Lawrenceville, Georgia on December 14th, 1991. I use that information when I don't have the birth time. I would typically use the time that the sun rose on that day in order to generate a solar chart when I do readings, and it works very well. So I use a 6 a.m. time for Offset. So we have the energy here in the first house of the sun, Mercury, and Mars. So we have all of this Sagittarian energy. And so when we talk about Sagittarius and we talk about the first house, Sagittarian energy is one that needs to be traveling, just like the number 5, needs to be having new experiences, needs to be going out and learning about different cultures, different ways of life, tasting different foods, seeing different types of worship. And in that, they are built up, their vocabulary increases when we have Mercury here, because Mercury is the ruler of communication. So when we have that here, in addition to this expression number 3, we have someone who is fire and air mixed together. So Sagittarius is a mutable fire sign. So it is able to quickly change. It is able to express itself very boldly and powerfully with whatever it is that it believes. So with this Mercury sitting here in the sign of Sagittarius, you have someone who can quickly think. You have the air energy brought in with the number 3. So air always makes fire bigger. So you have someone who is able to use their mind very quickly. Mars is how we self-actualize. It is how we move forward with our life. It's how we like to have sex. It's how we like to take activities. It shows you whether you can just be a homebody sitting in the house all the time. It shows if you just like peace and quiet all the time. It shows so much in how the body is moved forward. So again, we have this here in the sign of Sagittarius. This is a body who likes to have sex, likes to have all those different experiences, no different than we said here with the number 5 and the number 3. They can get bored easily. And so, and it's challenging, when you talk about number 5 energy and Sagittarius energy settling down into a white picket fence house and trying to just have the traditional idea of marriage. And it's challenging for them, especially early on in life. And he hasn't even had his Saturn return just yet. And so he will be having his Saturn return next year, which will cause him to have more maturity and think about the family more. Not that he's not thinking about it right now. I don't want to imply that. But when Saturn returns to the place that it was when you were born, here's Saturn in his birth chart sitting in the sign of Aquarius. When it returns next year to this placement, he will come to a place, and it lasts for about 3 years, the Saturn return. So once he turns 30, then that Saturn return will be complete. And in astrology, you are not an adult until you have gone through your Saturn return and it's been completed. And with the Saturn return, because Saturn wants maturity and a responsibility of us, so during your Saturn return, you go through the things that will cause you to shed immaturity and take responsibility for your life. Of course, you can choose not to. We'll only make things harder for yourself when you don't. But he will go through that very soon. And it can be quite challenging realize things that you need to change, that you need to have more structure in. But he will go through that lesson. But with Mars sitting here in the sign of Sagittarius, this is a person who needs to go, needs to have lots of fiery sex. Again, Sagittarius is fire. So that when you see that, you know that this is probably a person who might be more prone to have additional relationships, more than just the one. And in addition to that, you will see that this is a person who might be prone to have a lot of kids. If you have a lot of sex, you might have a lot of kids. So that just comes along with the territory. The sun is the essence of who the person is. So you have it here again in the sign of Sagittarius, moving their life forward. This is a person who has to be moving and thinking and talking and traveling. It's not optional. Probably moving the house a lot too, getting bored. And if you do have this Sagittarius energy within a person, there can be like a nervous energy around them. And if they are just in this one house, they need to be moving furniture around from one room to the next, or from this corner to the next, because just doing the same thing all the time is not what this soul came here to do. The other thing that I want to look at as it relates to his communication, we have Jupiter in the sign of Virgo. Okay. And Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So where Virgo energy is, you have this ability to critically think, to analyze things. You have the gift of speech and articulation in that area. And so with that, we have the ruler of Virgo in the sign of Sagittarius. Again, there is fire there. And not only that, we have Jupiter, which expands whatever he touches and wherever he is. So what you have here is an expansion of the mercurial or the communication energy within Offset, because he has this Jupiter sitting here in the sign of Virgo. And in this particular chart, again, we don't have a verified birth time, but we're looking at the solar chart here. We have on the 10th house cusp, which is the area of your career and your reputation in the world. You have a person who is known for their speaking ability. And wherever Jupiter is, he will bring you into great exposure in that particular area. This is an area where you really shine, where you get great benefits. So for him being in the public and using this mercurial energy in the public, it has worked well for him, to say the least. Okay, so he is able to use that to build his career on his ability to think and use words and be creative. So then we have where is the North Node? The North Node is here in the sign of Capricorn. So for him, with this life path number 1, it is about leading out. When we look at Capricorn, when we look at a North Node, the North Node is where the soul is meant to go, what you are headed towards in this life. The South Node is what you have already accomplished in the past, what you have become an expert at. And so now it's time for those old things to be shed, and then this new energy to be pressed forward for. So for him, in the sign of Capricorn in the 2nd house, you have a soul who has come here to make money, to build an empire, if you will, because Capricorn is all about building structures and building things better and better, building legacy, building something that will last. So you have a soul who has come here to lead out, to build. And when we look to Capricorn, we will always see this energy that is here, that is able to climb the mountain. So when we look to the animal, the goat, Capricorn is represented by the goat. We see a 200-pound animal climbing a steep hill with these hooves that are hard on the outside, and inside there is a tender piece of flesh that is able to determine where it should be stepping so that it can get to the top. So this is a soul who came here to go to the top, to be a financial success, to rule his own empire. And you see that this soul is moving forward in this way. Then when we look at this Jupiter coming down here to Mercury, it is making a square. So what astrologers call a square is a hard and challenging aspect. When you have hard aspects, and especially with Jupiter coming to Mercury, a lot of times early in life it can be religious beliefs of the family that challenge what it is that you want to be saying now. And so there is within the person who has this square a lot of times this feeling that I want to be saying or speaking something contrary to the beliefs that I was taught when I was a child. And so when they have this, it is more of a challenge for them to say what it is that they believe. But when we have the squares, it brings a frustration within us. When we have any types of squares in our chart, it brings frustration. So with this frustration, he has Jupiter here making this square to Mercury and Mars. So it is the religious beliefs that he was taught during childhood would have challenged the way that he wanted to move forward with his life and what he wanted to be saying with his life. And so in that, and then even to the sun, the life force, the essence, it's not, the numbers are not as close because we have 14 degrees here, 9 degrees, and 11 degrees here, but then we have 21 degrees with the sun. So the numbers are not as close with the sun, but you do have a huge impact on what he was taught to believe when he was a child, and then what he ultimately came to do or has come to do forcefully. He had to fight through the fears. He had to fight through what he was told and come to a decision on his own. And he has the goods to do that because he has this 5 here and this 1. So within him, you cannot tell him what to do. He decides, he goes out, he experiences, and he has been this way as a child. He learns on his own, he studies, he researches things to find out what it is that is true for him. And so through the challenge of the frustration of the square, he has been able to do that and move his life forward in a way that feels true to him. He has the moon in the sign of Pisces. Now, because we don't have an exact birth time, there can be a 6-degree difference. The moon is definitely in the sign of Pisces for him on this day, but it could be 6 degrees a difference either way within Pisces. So when you have the moon in Pisces, Michael Jackson has the moon in Pisces. And of course, he was an absolute genius when it comes to music. So when you have this sensitive place in Pisces, you have a person who is hearing directly from the divine. So you have great, great artists with this Piscean energy. The moon is what is familiar to us. It is where we feel most safe and most comfortable. So with this moon in Pisces, he feels most safe when he is by himself and he is able to like be in a meditative state. I don't know, like if I don't know if he smokes weed or what he does, but if he is smoking weed and he is going into this place, this energy of Pisces in that type of way can just tap in and hear what the spirit is saying, giving him creative lyrics, giving him all of these ideas. He can hear the beats. He can hear where the track should be laid. He can hear everything coming together. And he has this major gift to be able to do that. So with the moon in Pisces, it is definitely a gift to be able to hear from the divine, to create beautiful art. But with this moon in Pisces, this is a very, very sensitive soul. Can be hurt so easily, very tender, Very tender, because when you look at Pisces are the two fish, and they're mutable, so they're going different ways. And so for him, he has no covering like the other water signs, Cancer and Scorpio. They have hard shells on the outside of them, and they're able to, have some type of protection, though they are extremely sensitive. Cancer for sure is extremely sensitive, Scorpio too, but they hide it better. Pisces has nothing to hide behind, so they are hurt so easily, but they are so sensitive to all of the energies around them, with other people, what they're saying, what they're doing. Other people can be sad around them, and they think that it's their own sadness, but it is connected to the person who is across the room. And that is what this Pisces moon, because it's a very open, receptive energy that we have in the moon. And so when Pisces, when the moon sits in the sign of Pisces, you have someone who is open to all, to the good and the bad. So a lot of times you will have a person with this type of sensitivity that will escape through some type of drugs, because so that they can be desensitized from all of the pain, the emotional pain and feelings, because they're just open and just raw. The Pisces moon is just raw to everything. And so, and that's what you have there with this. And then we have with this moon sitting here in Pisces, is making a square to the sun. So oftentimes in childhood, when we have the moon square sun, there was definitely an issue with mom and dad. They did not get along. And then within the person, when they grow up, it's challenging for them how they see women, how they relate to women. If there is a challenge uh, with them accepting a woman's role and having sensitivity towards her. So a lot of times when we have people with the sun square moon, they can be more cold to women. There can be a bitterness and anger with this fire energy here towards women in general. And sometimes it could be challenging emotions, mixed emotions, as it relates to the female that was in his life that was raising him. Maybe, if it was grandmama or mama, it could be internal pain, internal sensitivity, confusion about the role, things that happened in childhood. And then, of course, the challenges as it relates to what he even feels about his father, or the man energy that was in his life. And then we have um, Saturn in the sign of Aquarius, which Saturn is the traditional ruler for Aquarius. And Saturn is making a square to Venus for him. So he has his Venus, which is the planet of love, planet of relationship. And in a man, it shows the type of woman typically that you will marry or draw to your life. And Venus also shows what you think love is, how love should be. So when Venus is in the sign of Scorpio, that is one of the most painful places for Venus, because Venus is all about diplomacy, self-value, self-worth, the flowers and beauty and tenderness and kindness. So it's coming into Scorpio, which is all about death and transformation and pain and uh, Pluto is about dying to what you thought. Love with Venus and Scorpio can be associated with abuse. It can be associated with loss, like you have a person who cannot see love as, okay, we're in a nice harmonious relationship and you have yours and I have mine. So when you have Venus coming into Scorpio, there is this possessiveness that comes in the relationships. Control, manipulation can be there. Just lots of pain, up and down. Love is not there if it's not with pain, if it's not with manipulation. Then this person does not feel loved. So they'll draw to themselves these types of relationships over and over again. And then having the square to Saturn. So he has this Venus at 9 degrees and then Saturn at 4. Saturn is all about blockages, fear, restriction. So when you have Venus square to Saturn, so already in a challenging position, sitting in Scorpio, then with this frustrating aspect of Saturn, you have somebody who is afraid of being heartbroken, afraid of real true commitment, afraid of being vulnerable, afraid to have somebody, but then afraid to lose them at the same time. You have someone who is afraid of abandonment. So with the square, there is a block that they will put up towards real love. So they want the real love, but then they block it when it comes in. So you have this constant pain two ways, because Pluto is involved, who rules the new ruler of Scorpio, and then Saturn is involved. So there's passion and pain as it relates to love. And Cardi B, I looked at her chart a little earlier. I'll do another one on hers really soon, after I do this one, so we can look at the synastry and the dynamics of their relationship. But she does have her Venus also in the sign of Scorpio, but it's sitting in the 8th house. So these dynamics are playing out for the both of them. So they both are karmically drawn together in this lifetime to learn painful lessons as it relates to love. But they have aspects in their chart that draw them together and keep them together. So even though there's the breaking up that's going on, there is this coming back together because they have a lot of aspects that draw them back together. And I will talk about that again a little later. So I just wanted to share this chart because I just love Cardi B and Offset. Love what they're doing. Very unique, very talented. And again, my name is Letitia, and I thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.